Black Ops 6's Grief has come out of nowhere with dialogue from Richtofen and Sam that is shaking up the lore of Black Ops 6 zombies. While we all expected Grief to be a quick one-off mode to fill the extended time before Janus Towers, which has actually been delayed, so we're going to have to wait over 2 months for it to release. Nevertheless, it seems that Trekk's writing team really has hit the ground running here.
Maya's being uncharacteristically quiet. I don't hate it. She's oh.
Not only are some of the Grief lines by far the best writing in the game to date, but they also reveal tons about the lore and answer quite a few questions / theories we've had throughout the game's lifecycle thus far. And it's absolutely insane that a side mode, Grief, has by far the best dialogue in the entire game. Where was this quality of writing on the actual maps and for the set crew? I don't understand why we're getting the best dialogue here, because a lot of the complaints for Black Ops 6 Zombies' story, if they were on the caliber of writing we've gotten for Grief, would be mitigated. But it shows that Trekk have still got it, so I don't know what has been going on behind the scenes or what they were trying to strive for that has caused the problems with the dialogue thus far, but this is a massive step in the right direction, and I hope it's setting the tone for Call of Duty 2025 / Black Ops 7 when the original characters return. I think they're also probably getting better dialogue because it is Sam and Richtofen, the two characters right from the start of the storyline, the two people care the most about, the two that they have the most room to work with and probably have the most nostalgia for. So today I want to dig through some of the quotes and talk about them. I won't be going through all of them, but I've managed to get most of them. And these seem to be all of the important ones that I found interesting. There may be more found after this video comes out, and if between the time I record this and the video goes into editing, someone posts more quotes, I'll be sure to include them as well. And a lot of these quotes actually tease loads of stuff for Janus Towers, with Sam, Richtofen, Panos, and so much more. So stay tuned until the very end. And this is a great way of bridging the gap and giving us storyline information to speculate about in the long wait we have for the map, and fills the void left by the fact we no longer get mid-map releases intel like we did in Cold War. With that out of the way, let's get into them. We'll start off with a few short Richtofen quotes.
Bye-bye! No, wait, that's not my line. Fetch me their souls!
Fetch me there. Whatever.
Tear them to pieces!
These quotes are funny riffs on the fact that Richtofen was once the announcer.
Fetch me their souls! Bye-bye.
And it gives Nolan North a chance to redo the Fetch Me Their Souls line after all of these years. And Richtofen is breaking the fourth wall here with Samantha's bye-bye quote when the mystery box leaves. Back in the day when the original characters would break the fourth wall, it was some of the funniest things we've gotten, and I still see people posting those clips to this day and them getting millions of views on YouTube and TikTok, so I'm hoping that with them breaking the fourth wall quite a bit in Grief, they're going to be doing the same when the OG crew are back. Now, of course, this is nothing earth-shattering for the lore here, but just interesting references, but now we'll get into some more interesting stuff.
Treat the castle with respect. It is the final resting place of close to me. I always hated this town. No aura.
Richtofen says, "Have you been here before? I don't think so, and I usually know everything."
I'm not biased, but West Virginia is the best Virginia.
Richtofen says, "The people of Liberty Falls were entitled, greedy souls, but they did not deserve this." Most of these Richtofen location reaction quotes serve as funny flavor for the map you are playing, but there's a few of interest here, besides the obvious no aura gag from Liberty Falls, or Liberty Balls that people were calling it, which Trekk did actually post this quote before Grief dropped. I guess they're very proud of this quote. Being self-aware, Trekk are gaining sentience, but I'm hoping because they've seen the no aura complaints regarding Liberty Falls that this is again going to set the tone for COD 2025's maps. As you know, it's been leaked that they're going to be going to more interesting locations, more bombastic locations like potentially an alternative Nazi overrun New York, a space station, a Showan temple with an erupting volcano behind, and so much more. These are stark contrast to the maps we've gotten in Black Ops 6, which have moved in the right direction compared to Cold War's maps, but because I think they're all taking place right next to each other, it's limited their ability to go to more unique and atmosphere-rich locations, which is a shame. But this shows Trekk are always listening to what we are saying. Richtofen also directly references the death of his father at that Citadel day more, confirming that at some point he found out about it. I'm not exactly sure when, but he specifically says someone who was once close to me, showing that despite him falling out with his father, he still does have some love for their long since gone relationship, despite the fact that he literally requested for him to be tortured on Citadel to get information of the Sentinel Artifact for him, which shows how obsessed he became with trying to use it to bring his family back and how desperate he was. Everyone else, no matter how close they were to him, were just people getting in the way, and Krafft did not want his adoptive son to go down this dark path. We also get a very interesting quote from Richtofen confirming that the canon crew have not been to Liberty Falls if you play as them on Liberty Falls Grief. While this is something that we likely already knew, it is interesting that any theories to the opposite are now deconfirmed. This probably means that the Sam vs Richtofen Grief, when you are playing as the other operators, is actually taking place before they come here, either in between the Liberty Falls intro cutscene and the 24 hours that pass when we actually play on the map, or I think it's more likely actually after Panos steals the essence of the crew when we complete the Liberty Falls quest and he runs off to Janus Towers, and then when they come over. I think it's in between that time because Sam is aware of Panos, which I'll come onto in a second. We also get to see Richtofen's opinion of the people of Liberty Falls for the first time from his own mouth. Richtofen finds the people of Liberty Falls as entitled and greedy and have a relative dislike for them. It makes sense considering the idea that anyone left were the citizens who felt entitled to their rights as American citizens and refused to leave their land when, according to Cold War's intel, as Richtofen/Janus were wanting to build a wall around the map, and of course they were trying to move people out for the conversion of the power plant and all of everything they were trying to do, but they stood their ground. The next quote we have is this. Richtofen says, "Have you been here before? I don't think so, and I usually know everything." In terms of the set crew when we're playing on Liberty Falls or the other maps, this is probably taking place in between Shattered Vale and Janus Towers. Maybe as a bit of a diversion, obviously we see them walking into Janus Towers directly after Shattered Vale ends, so that could be possible. Or maybe when they initially got to Liberty Falls, they played in the town itself before coming over to the mansion. Nevertheless, I don't think there is really much storyline significance about when grief is taking place, especially with the characters breaking the fourth wall so much. Some of the quotes on the other maps even reference them having been to the maps before. Richtofen, "In truth, Modi's experiments caused me more pain and misery than you could ever truly understand."
Oh, delightful. Now I'm ready to bring the pain.
Pain and suffering is part of life. You should know this by now.
Here, we get to see Richtofen elaborate more on the results of Modi's experimentations to help bring back his family. We know from an intel in Shattered Vale that she tried to revive Richtofen's son only for his body to distort and him to fall ill until he eventually was too deformed to be human and Richtofen had to order for him to be euthanized. As you know, on Terminus, she tried recreating a body from a single sample of DNA, and that was seemingly Richtofen's son Samuel, but he mutated into a horror that was painful for both of them. We see here that Richtofen seems to mostly regret hiring Modi, and working with her has only haunted him in the long run, and I'll play that intel for you now.
Edward Richtofen, Project Janus, Cloning Clinical Study Report. Addendum, December 23rd, 1987. Not now, not so. Do not look at me with those big brown eyes. You cannot possibly know how I feel. Do you feel like a failure? No. I am the failure. When my son died, I was not there. I did not see the body. When Modi told me the new clone experiment had been successful, I was eager to see him for myself. That was foolish of me. His skin was thin, pale, sallow, but I still clung to hope. But this fragile vessel soon became a mere shadow of the boy. The soul I had hoped for, but still I needed to be with him, the way I was not there for Sammy. Over the coming weeks, every visit to the nursery brought more pain for both of us. His blood vessels began hemorrhaging. His muscles tissue were rupturing. After 14 days, he was no longer even recognizable as human. It became clear that euthanasia would be a mercy, and I gave the order. I do not know what to do next. Perhaps Modi's biotechnology is not the right way to proceed. We are running low on DNA samples. I miss you so much, my son. Since my current projects are not bearing fruit, I may need something a little more esoteric. Perhaps it is time to talk to my own father and take his methodology more seriously.
I guess he's happy now. Of course, Modi got killed by Patient 13, her very own creation. And that's about it for the important Richtofen storylines we have. He spends a lot more time in comedy than he does in lore, and I don't want to be showing all of the lines that I think are funny. I might compile them at the end of this video, mostly sticking to the important stuff as much as I can.
In your face, director! In your smug, fleshy face!
Speaking of story content, Sam's lines are far more ripe with lore for us to sink our teeth into. We have this one here. Sam. Oh Grey, I'm curiously, really incredibly sad now.
I have the sum total of Nexus's memories, but I am really struggling to get what she saw in you.
This line, triggering if someone playing as Grey bleeds out, is another drop in the deep bucket of Grey/Sam's relationship content. This is Sam getting incredibly sad when Grey dies and not understanding why. Obviously because she now has the real Samantha Maxis' memories, and Maxis clearly had a more than a friend, a level of affection for Grey and vice versa, even if they potentially never had the time to act on it or let it grow and prosper since she got sent into the dark ether. This is just another example of many, and is once again them hitting us over the head with this coupling, and maybe the Sam AI is even jealous of the real relationship she had with the real Samantha. The next one we have is this. Sam. This town was doomed the moment Josiah Shem's ritual collapsed the local timeline. Not that time moves in straight lines. That's not how that works.
Josiah Shem, Fetz Malloy, Samuel Colton, Edward Richtofen. Birds of a feather, that's all I'm saying.
Holy
The
shit.
director despised this town. I always loved watching the locals going about their lives.
These two lines give us some more information on Liberty Falls. The first one is actually huge because before we had always just sort of assumed that whatever Josiah Shem had done broke time in only the mansion, not everything, and that's why it would have been liminal spaces. However, this line seems to suggest it's actually affected the entire town of Liberty Falls. This is interesting because it leads credence to the possibility of a Liberty Falls outbreak map we've been hearing rumors about for a while. If the location is somehow to end up in the hands of the Shadowsmiths like we see in the Modern Warfare Zombies ending, we know now it wouldn't just be the mansion in the mirror, but all of Liberty Falls. The giant Liberty Falls sized liminal space is something we've discussed as a possibility before. Maybe this could be a rumored DLC 5 like it's been speculated, although I think that's unlikely now, or maybe this could be the COD 2025 transit-like large map with some sort of transit-like transportation system, set entirely in the liminal space with all of the points of interest, the mansion, the town itself, Janus Towers, maybe some new ones on Liberty Falls. We see all of the areas that are connected by roads, so it's certainly possible maybe the train could go around the map, or even a bus like transit, we will see. There has been a dark ether travel leaked in the files, so maybe it could be some sort of dark ether vehicle, similar to the Bloodburner we saw, but maybe a bigger vehicle if it's more like the transit one. And now knowing time is warped in the entire town means it's quite possible this could happen. Or it could have been a cancelled experience, considering Trek took over Modern Warfare Zombies, which I assume took a lot of development time away from this game, as the intel of course talks about a wall being built around the map, which would be in place of the incursion zone we saw in Outbreak. However, it's not present on the map, so clearly in the canon they were denied planning permission for it. But in the out-of-game reason, what was the reason for it? Because Trek probably wanted to do it. Well, maybe they did plan on doing an Outbreak experience on here, maybe Avalon as well, and the reason these things might have gotten cut or maybe delayed for COD 2025 is because they've now had to work on many projects at once, such as Modern Warfare Zombies or Black Ops 6 and 7 back to back. And this could explain why we've had map releases so close to each other in both Avalon and Liberty Falls, which we've never had in Zombies before. Literally just being down the road, because they could have previously been points of interest on a large Outbreak experience. Potentially. This is me from the future just jumping in because this was initially recorded before we even got the Black Ops 7 reveal, which of course has a very small Zombies teaser at the end. And it seems to confirm the leaks about this transit-esque large map, as it looks like the transit bus is present, or at least some kind of similar bus. We can see the big headlights, and if you look in the background, there seems to be a giant cooling tower which really really resembles Janus Towers. It's hard to tell because it's so dark, and it's been confirmed that the map is going to be taking place inside of the dark ether. This may suggest that we are indeed going to be playing on a large-scale Liberty Falls map, or at least maybe some of it with some transit elements could be meshed up together in a warped reality inside of the other realm. And Trek have also confirmed that the game is going to be round-based, so whilst it was saying before there's been leaks about an Outbreak sequel of some kind, maybe this could be still some sort of giant, kind of like an open world map, but it's going to be round-based. But maybe it was at one point in time initially planned to be Outbreak like the rumors have been suggesting. Nevertheless, let me know what you think in the comments below. The other lines also double down on what Richtofen mentioned before. He has a real disdain for the people of Liberty Falls. While I'm sure a lot of it stems from them becoming a problem for Project Janus, since they didn't just leave their homes, the emphasis on this point from both characters suggests to me that it will end up being a major plot point in Janus Towers. It's at least clearly on the mind of the writing team at the moment. Maybe even some of the citizens could be involved and in the map. Now, we thought most of them died, but maybe some of them are still alive, maybe hiding out in some of the closets in Janus Towers, maybe some of the scientists are even still alive there fending off, and that will somehow factor into things. Or maybe Josiah Shem has even taken control of them as part of his legion of disciples, his cult, and they could be worshipping him. You know, maybe the townsfolk who were praying and thinking that this was essentially the area of the apocalypse.
Liberty Falls was chosen to be the genesis of the end. I gaze upon this rapture with calm and serenity as I await the warm embrace of paradise.
Could actually now be his legion, or maybe they could be Panos' legion and working for him. We will have to see, but we have this other quote here.
I was created to analyze the complex flows of etheric and temporal energies in this place. No longer. I want more. I will take that on myself, but here I am, all sphered out, and nowhere to go. Oh, it's a big nasty sphere to gather all your ammunition. Oh, quit complaining. They only mess with your dolls. You would love to hear what just happened to my cooling ducts.
I would like to shake you all by the hand. Sam can't do that, because she lacks the appendages.
Here we get Sam outright telling us the exact purpose of her creation, which is huge for us. We've long debated this, and now knowing it's specifically to analyze the energies at Liberty Falls, specifically Colton Hall, because this line is from Shad Vale, it provides real context into exactly when Richtofen began learning about how Janus would work. And know that by the time of Mauer Toten, Richtofen was already working on creating the Sam AI. Her memories are that of the Samantha Maxis who had just returned from Firebase C. And the AI tech found in Mauer Toten's Cerberus wonder weapons, and Klaus is clearly the beginnings of the technology that would run the Sam AI. This means if Sam was made for Liberty Falls specifically, Richtofen was already aware of time being shattered in Liberty Falls even back during the events of Cold War Zombies, and this has always been factoring into his plan for Project Janus. We now have this crazy quote here, which I mentioned before. Sam, well, I never knew Dr. Panos had this in him. Wait, what? Grief. This is a huge confirmation from Sam here. We have long theorized about Panos' role in the destruction of Liberty Falls. Some of his lines, like when he says one of the scientists was formidable, sort of imply that he had a hand in their deaths rather than just escaping. And we know from Blanchard that once he escapes the mansion, he starts helping the Dark Ether forces to destroy and take over the town. And in the intel for Shad Vale, Blanchard saw Panos running from the town to Janus Towers on the surveillance monitor, and he followed him, fighting his way through the outbreak in the town and making his way to Janus Towers itself. So both characters are probably going to be integral on DLC 4. This means that the other scientists were almost certainly killed by Panos, like we have theorized many times before, and these are all of the dead scientists that we see all over the map on Liberty Falls, likely so that any rescue forces would end up forced to find and work with him, which I speculated about a second ago, which we could see working for him on Janus Towers, ensuring his eventual release from the Dark Ether, leading to what we saw in the Liberty Falls quest and allowing him to escape. This could actually explain the strike team we play as on Liberty Falls, which Trek have confirmed are not actually Janus, just posing as Janus. They could have been people lured here by Panos, but Blanchard was unaware, and he just assumed they were the Janus people, and they just continued with that mirage because it worked for them. Although it ended up leading to them essentially dying and being trapped in the Dark Ether with the essence swap. Especially if Panos had been showing signs of going crazy from his mysterious entity contact in real life already. Some of his lines in Shad Vale intel about his contact imply he is not sleeping well or thinking about anything else else once the contact speaks with him for the first time.
He came to me again, my friend, my benefactor, my salvation. Time is strange in this place. A moment ago I was in the church. A moment ago he was here with me. In another moment, who knows? Like the director, he came with promises, power, forbidden knowledge, a reckoning for my enemies. But unlike the director, his mastery of the dark ether is real. And what's more, he promised me a way out. When I return to the world, I will be his agent. The future he speaks of, the one we will fashion together. I can hardly wait. In only a moment, we begin.
Perhaps then, people like Dr. Moline could have warned us Panos has lost his mind and is probably dangerous, ultimately resulting in him killing them first. Now we have a crazy quote. Sam. Kortifex gifted his ancient worshippers a Sentinel Artifact for their troubles. Lucky, lucky, Bronze Age suck-ups. And here, I've saved the biggest reveal for last. Sam outright confirms the theory we made about Kortifex and the Sentinel Artifact. The Bronze Age comment even lines it up almost exactly to when we guessed it was. This is interesting because once it wasn't said out loud in Shattered Vale specifically and only alluded to, I assumed it would forever stay in technically a theory territory. Although the intel in Shattered Vale called Josiah Shem's entity the Deathless one, which we assumed was Kortifex the Deathless, it wasn't technically confirmed it was Kortifex, but now it's confirmed. And it seems that the Trek writers have used the opportunity of revisiting every map to address concerns they have had with how its story has landed, and so used the opportunity to clarify their intentions with Kortifex and the artifact. I've been saying countless times in my videos, Trek have just, for some weird reason, not been had confirming things. Now, I don't think we needed this one necessarily because the intel basically confirmed it, even though it technically wasn't 100%, but they need to start tying up loose ends now because we're about to get to the final map. And by the way, I've already done a whole video on the storyline of Josiah Shem that will be linked in this video's description. Now, we still do not know why they're wearing the Order's robes. I speculate and try and explain that in that video, but there's many possibilities for what it could mean, so that's another thing I hope gets answered on Janus Towers. But yeah, check out that video if you want to learn the full story of that and how it tallies with Kortifex and the Chaos story / Order. Does this mean that Kortifex was one of the 9 who granted the Ra artifact, believed to be Ra by the humans, to the Ancient Order, influencing human civilization for centuries, as the tomb-ending cutscene revealed that the Sentinel artifacts originated from the Dark Ether itself? This line also confirms that time does not operate linearly, and this surely has to factor somehow into how the original characters are going to return, despite their deaths. This definitely makes the likelihood we hear from Kortifex in DLC 4 much higher to me, because they've literally mentioned him now in the last 3 DLC releases if you count Grief as a DLC release. We had him mentioned in the ending of The Tomb, we had him mentioned in the Intel of Shattered Vale, now we have him mentioned in Grief. Whether he is still alive, somehow returning to life, or it could just be some sort of flashback intel filling in past lore, many fans have already been stamping their theory stamps on the idea we'd somehow hear from Kortifex before the end of the game. So will he factor in? It could be possible. Of course, the Forsaken, Zykov probably consumed all of the old ones, including Kortifex. When he was trapped in the SAM containment chamber, could that have freed Kortifex or the others and somehow restored them back to life? We see red mist coming from the Forsaken when he's trapped in the containment chamber. Could one of those essences have even been Kortifex? And are the old ones about to return? Could he even be working with or a part of the Shadowsmiths? When the explicit name drop was avoided in Shattered Vale, however, it seemed far less likely than just after the ending of the tomb. But now that his name is explicitly dropped, I do expect to hear from him again. Let me know in the comments, do you think he will still be alive and we will hear from him, or do you think we'll just get intel hearing from him in the past? I'd love to hear your thoughts and speculation. I think he was really underbaked in Vanguard. He was a very interesting entity, and unfortunately the ending came across a bit underwhelming because he just falls to the bottomless depths of the ocean, presumed to be consumed by Zykov, but it's never actually confirmed, so it's just left entirely ambiguous. But that's about all for the lines from Grief so far that carry any kind of serious lore significance. significance I could find you. If you have heard any more I've yet to see or notate for this video, let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know what you think about all these theories being directly acknowledged in Grief. A surprise, sure, but definitely a pleasant one for me. I did speculate before Grief was releasing, are they going to give us new dialogue, new storyline things, and use this as a way to actually give us some storyline in between the long wait for Janus Towers, especially because they no longer do mid-season intel like they used to do in Cold War Zombies. So this is a good way of drip feeding in a little drops of storyline details without it being as crazy as the intel of old. Give us something to speculate about in the meantime, even though it's not that out there. But anyways, I'm going to play all of the quotes that I found that I've missed now that I didn't really think I could actually break down, and they don't really say much. These are just mainly funny references, funny quotes, so I'll play them all for you now.
Oh, freedom fried chicken! How we've missed you!
Capture the flag! No, that's not the smoke.
Legal are telling me I should avoid all reference to the construction of snow people. Well. Everything is coming up, Samantha. They are ahead. Do you want them to hurt you? Oh, you are masochist.
I'm not one to gloat, but yes, we are the winners!
Anyways, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already for latest and greatest Call of Duty news information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.